News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by the Duck Hunter. It's a lengthy process, and it only happens every 10 years, and it's now underway in Utah. A committee has been formed to tackle redistricting. On KVNU's For the People program on Thursday, former Senator Lyle Hilliard, who is a member of the committee, talked about how he got involved.
President Adams of the Senate called me and he said, I know you're enjoying life without pressure, but he said, we need help on this position. And he actually nominated me. The way the commission is set up, the Senate president nominates one, the speaker nominates one, the minority leader in the Senate and the minority leader in the House each recommend one. Then we pick up, the governor does one or two, I think, and then the group picks another one.
So Hilliard said 4 of them are really there by political appointment, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and the others are appointed outside of that. He said the work is important and has a definite timeline.
Normally, the figures are out by the end of April. So you have April through about October, November. You can even go over, but now we're not even going to get the figures until the middle of August, hopefully.
Wow.
And then we have to be done by the 1st of November because the idea is they want to have the redistricting done and the bill passed before January 1st, because on January 1st, people running for office need to know their district so they can start gathering signatures.
The former senator says he feels good about everyone working on the committee. He thinks they all have a legitimate idea that they want to do what's right for the state of Utah. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, overnight low in the upper 50s, and then partly cloudy in the morning, then clearing. High tomorrow around 90 with some southwest winds, maybe gusting up to around 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Mostly clear, cooler Saturday night, Sunday morning, down around 50 degrees, and then sunny and not as hot on Sunday, looking at mid-80s. It's been to 92. It's 91 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Contact their Cache Valley team to protect what's yours at northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction. Call 435-677-7300.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duck Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duck Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duck Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. Conservation groups have sued the federal government over the Trump administration's decision to allow construction of a new four-lane highway through a national conservation area in southern Utah that includes protected habitat for the Mojave Desert tortoise. The group, Conserve Southwest Utah, sued today, arguing that the road through part of the sensitive and scenic Red Cliffs area would put the tortoise and several other species at risk. Highway supporters say the plan balances wildlife protection with the need to keep traffic flowing in the St. George area, one of the fastest growing parts of the country. The conservationists say that alternative routes represent better solutions to the traffic problems. And Interior Secretary Deb Haaland has made a recommendation about whether to reverse former President Trump's decision to downsize 2 sprawling national monuments in Utah, but details on her decision have not been released. A court filing Thursday in a legal battle that began more than 3 years ago shows the Interior Department gave the report to President Biden on Wednesday. It doesn't say what the report contains. Interior Department spokeswoman Melissa Schwartz has declined to provide any information about the report. Haaland traveled to Utah in April as she became the latest cabinet official to step into a long-running public lands tug-of-war. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Updates every 30 minutes and breaking news as it happens. News Talk KVNU, your number one radio station for news and talk.
Adams Wealth Advisors have helped thousands of people create financial peace of mind. Understanding your family, job, hobbies, and goals is how Adams Wealth Advisors earn the long-term trust of the individuals they proudly serve.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com to schedule a time with an advisor today.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, "Man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on?" He said, "I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, 'cause your car is what we're all about."
At Cache Valley Auto Care, all the experts are under one roof. So if it's not running right, chances are we can fix it. Cache Valley Auto Care, behind Home Depot on 200 East, 1175 North.
Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU.
My name is Bruce Lee. I'm here with my co-host Sid Roeder. We're here for another fun show.
This radio show is sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and efforts to provide information that is hopefully useful to seniors, their family members, caretakers, and really anybody who's interested.
Senior Moments, every Saturday morning at 7:30, right here on News Talk KVNU.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the people. It is Friday, June 4th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well.
It's Friday!
Finally. And man, is it warm out there on this Friday. You said 92 right now? Is that
92, yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 97. I hope that doesn't happen.
That's right.
Let's keep it at 92 or below.
It's pretty bad when you're looking at the 10-day forecast and thinking to yourself, oh, good, it cools down into the mid-80s next week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sleep with the windows open, and
that's right.
I can wear my long-sleeve shirt again. It's going to be mid-80s.
Finally, some relief on this. Yeah, it's pretty warm out there. You may have noticed if you spent any time out in the hills and mountains last weekend, it's also pretty dry out there. Already, a lot of the fuel for potential wildfires drying out and reaching that tinderbox stage, I would guess, within the next week or so. So a reminder from the Utah Forester and all fire managers throughout the state, especially here in Cache County, most especially anywhere in the southern half of the state. Be careful out there. Recommendation, again, that you, if you know, at all possible, just avoid fires, campfires altogether. If that's not something you choose to do, make sure you're burning in an improved fire pit, if something that where a designated fire place has been created. There were some incidents, I understand, talking with some folks at Hiram City last weekend over the Memorial Day weekend. There were some incidents at they have a new, somewhat improved campground there at the mouth of Blacksmith Fork Canyon, the old CCC camp, and they've turned that into a camping site you can reserve with multiple spots, where you can reserve the whole thing, and it's nice. It's got on the other side of the river from those camping areas, there's a trail that runs from a parking area about 2 miles up into the canyon, most of it on Hiram City-owned land. And last weekend, as I understand it, they had multiple people just showing up with tents and firewood, camping out in trees. It is actually a watershed area. And so the designated campsite is where they want you camping, and there are improved fireplaces there buried into the ground. But on the other side of the river, it's basically just trees and grass, and people just showing up with tents, pitching them, in the shade of some trees, digging a fire pit, and then burning. Don't do this stuff. I'm surprised to hear these stories. I'm surprised that people don't know what a bad idea this is.
Yeah,
in general.
Until it's too late many times, right?
Sure. There's a reason they call them improved campgrounds. They've usually taken steps to make sure that, fire incidents don't escalate out of control. But literally just digging a little hole in the ground, throwing some wood in it, and starting a fire over in the tall grass is, yeah. So spoke with someone from Hiram City who said they had a problem with that. They had to actually have some signs made this week and put up along the trail, letting people know that motorized vehicles, shooting, and camping is not allowed in that Blacksmith Fork Trail area. And that goes for the Shoreline Trail as well, that branches off to the north from that same parking lot at the mouth of the canyon there. It's something that they've had happening. People just going out and pitching tents and burning a fire. This type of thing is going to be an increasing issue, I think. Not to every time I start talking about this, I start to feel like that old man shouting at clouds, that guy standing on his lawn yelling, "Get off my lawn," to the kids having fun. But that's not my attitude towards this at all. I'm glad that we're lucky here in Cache Valley that we have so many outdoor recreation opportunities, that it's so easy to get. I've mentioned on the show before, long time ago, back in the day, I had a job a long time ago I had a job.
You had a job, huh?
I did, just one.
Because this is a hobby.
That's so right. A long time ago, this is my afternoon hobby. A long time ago, I had a job that was pretty intense and somewhat stressful. Fun, but stressful. And my lunch was, I had an hour-long lunch break. It was at 11:30. And so I'd swing up. This was back in the day when I could eat fast food every day and still stay slim. Those days are gone. But I would swing by, some drive-through, grab some fast food, head up Logan Canyon. You can actually get all the way to the right-hand fork turn and up there into some of those campsites. And oftentimes in the middle of the week especially, they'd be empty. So I could just pull off into the shade there, eat my lunch, listen to some stuff. You get most FM, AM signals still up there. And just zone out for, a good 40 minutes. And then drive back down, not be late back from my lunch. And it was just this nice clearing of the head experience. And it really made me appreciate what I think we all take for granted here, that if you've ever known anyone, lived there yourself, or visited for a lengthy period of time the East Coast, this is not something you can do there. Getting to an area where you can sit in silence and listen to nature, eat your lunch, and still make it back to work on time, that's not something that happens in a lot of areas anymore. It's mostly Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, good chunk of Oregon at least, and Northern California type of thing. They don't do it in Arizona because no matter where you go, even in the shade, it's too hot to be outside. But it's it's a privilege to have that. I noticed this week though a trip to that same area, looking for. I was helping with some photos for some website I was working on, and so we're trying to get some great photos of nature. And I actually headed to that same area where I used to do this, decades ago, on my lunch break. A Wednesday afternoon, and every campsite, I couldn't find one to pull into to snap a few pictures of that little creek there, and with some trees in the background. It was just impossible. Every single campsite was full. Wednesday afternoon, and I saw a bit of this last summer. I assumed it was because of the pandemic that we had so many people out. It was impossible to find a campsite last summer unless you planned ahead or
well, a lot of people
went
had
through
been
official reservations.
I mean, more than normal had been kind of hunkered down from mid-March, April into May.
Yeah, it's and I kind of chalked a lot of it up to that, but it appears to be the case again this summer. And again, I'm not saying, I wish more people were staying home and not getting out into nature. I do wish people were being smarter about it. Again, the story of people just setting up tents in tall grass, digging a fire pit and making their own campsite on private land in a watershed area. I mean, how boneheaded. So I think we need, I think there's need as more and more people come to the valley, as more and more people are born here and stay here, as population grows, it's going to get harder to get outside and recreate, but it's never going to be impossible. And it's always going to be a privilege we have here in Cache Valley. But I think, I think there's a need for some up-training, if you will, on how to do it smartly, how to do it with respect for others, as we all are forced to camp closer together and less isolated away from everyone else. Think about this type of thing, because we've had this luxury here in Cache Valley that, my family, when I was a kid, the extended family, not just immediate, 4 or 5 house trailers, 3 tents. It wasn't that hard to find a spot that big, never see another person for the entire weekend. Those days are gone. And so we all need to think a little bit about what we're doing out there, because something that doesn't sound like a big deal, but a bunch of people just heading up with a tent, digging a fire pit in some grassy field, calling it a campsite, that could have ramifications that affect thousands of people in the form of a wildfire, damaged land, a ruined weekend for someone who planned ahead because a bunch of folks just move in and pitch tents right next door. If you're going to a reserved campsite area, you did your work to reserve the campsite, and to have a bunch of people just show up and squat next to you in the trees. Yeah,
getting away from it all might involve just going to your backyard.
Yeah, I think
is the sad reality anymore.
Yeah. So I'm working on turning my backyard into something that looks like you're in the mountains. But yeah, it's just something we're all going to have to be more conscious of. But some of these reports, it wasn't just Hiram City. You remember CacheValleyDaily.com story, actually, on what is, in the past at least, been a popular random weekend camping area, became a bit of a homeless camp. There were issues with drugs and even sexual assault near the mouths of Millville and Providence Canyons. Logan Canyon, through the canyon there, kind of limited on reserved campsite space anyway, but there are some areas up further where you could get in, pretty decent ways, and even with pulling a house trailer and camp and have the place mostly to yourself. If you've seen the camping areas up around Beaver Mountain in the summertime, yeah, that's gone. But so we're all going to have to think a little bit more about being out in nature and being respectful of others, and most importantly, making sure that you don't do something really dumb that results in a large wildfire that displaces thousands of people. 753-5868. This is KVN News for the people.
A building is just a building until it's your building. It's where you work, where you create, and where you store your valuable equipment. You take pride in your building, so make sure it's built right and built to last. Northern Steel Buildings will guide you from concept to construction. For your commercial, agricultural, or industrial steel building, visit northernsteelbuilding.com to see their quality work, or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings. Value from concept to construction.
I'm Dr. Red in Cache Valley. Some of my patients here have questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccines were developed quickly and safely because they cut red tape, not corners. The vaccines are extremely effective and will protect you and your loved ones. More than 1 million Utahns have been vaccinated, and I encourage you to get the vaccine too. Talk to your doctor if you have any questions.
Now more than ever, trust ABC News Radio.
This is something that we all have to deal with together.
We're answering your questions,
Just put some kind of a cloth barrier over your nose.
adding special coverage
The reach of this virus, it touches everything from what we wear to how we feed ourselves.
with straightforward reporting.
With the Trump administration pushing states to reopen businesses, some governors are pushing back, saying they
During
can't
this time
do
of
it.
concern and after it, ABC News Radio is the most trusted source, anytime, everywhere.
Go nuts.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. The Attorney General's office today with an announcement, a big announcement, but one you never like to see this stuff. Although I think it's great that the Attorney General's office has this high-profile task force. It's called ICAC. This is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and there was an arrest the evening of June 2nd of a 29-year-old man here in Utah, and the man was charged with 8 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, the second-degree felony, and his last name, Organista. He's a member of the Salt Lake City School Board and had been asked to resign the next day after the arrest. But what makes this story worth paying some attention to is how they caught this man. Again, a member of the Salt Lake City School Board, well-known member of the community, and somebody that had been on the board for a while, been active in schools, and was arrested again of 8 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. All this came about because of a single tip, one tip. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, acting on a tip, reached out to the state attorney general's office and the members of that Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, ICAC, and they what they reported basically was a tip of numerous pictures and video, child pornography, in a Dropbox account that belonged, they believed at the time, couldn't prove it, eventually did, but at the time it was just a tip saying, we found this Dropbox account on a computer, and it's a computer that has been used by this gentleman, Organista, Joel Lehigh Organista, his name, a member of the Salt Lake City School Board, 29-year-old man, and so a search warrant was obtained. Officers discovered several dozen more folders of images and plenty of evidence that the man was communicating directly with children who had clearly, to him, identified themselves between the ages of 12 and 17. Evidence is still being collected, so there might be additional charges as they go through electronic devices from the man's home and things like that. But again, this came from a single tip. Someone who was there at the computer and was able to was clicking through things for some reason or another. I don't know if this was a PC repair situation or just a shared computer at the home. But either way, the tip itself ended up being a pretty big deal. So the Attorney General's office put out a statement today asking people to do this, to make that call. And they talked a little bit about some of the cases like this one with the Salt Lake City School Board member and child pornography that have happened over the last few years. And one of the members of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, a man named John, I lost his last name here in the article, he talked about some of the difficulty they have in this, and what they find oftentimes is when an arrest is made, oftentimes they'll find, he said, that there were people who kind of suspected or knew about this, and he said what's hard is, even a tip that leads to a search warrant And that getting out publicly can ruin a life of an innocent person. And so people, he said, are very hesitant to make that call. There's, an 800 number you can call for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The Attorney General's office also has a hotline for the Internet Crimes Task Force. And so it's not hard to find a way to how to make this call. But John Lewis, his name was, John Lewis of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here in Utah said, he said that oftentimes people discover something, they're a little concerned by what they discover, and they will maybe stop at just confronting the individual about it. They don't want to ruin a life if it's a misunderstanding or something that looks like something that it isn't. And so they'll confront the individual. The individual always has an excuse or an explanation, and then it stops there. But according to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, there's a pattern to all of this. So what they're asking people to do, and this goes out to shops that repair laptops and PCs. This goes out to family members, coworkers, all of that. The Attorney General's office basically asking people, if you see something that involves a child, don't leave it alone. Make that call, give them a tip, because they can look into these things. And if it is a situation where the person, there was a story, this was out of Minnesota a long, long time ago, in which a man was basically had his life destroyed because he was at a public library and the computer had been hijacked. No one at the library knew that. And so this man sitting there at the public library looking up, I think in the end they found out he was doing research for a school paper. He was an older student going back to school. And he was sitting there doing research, and the computer suddenly, if you've ever seen this happen, it doesn't happen that much anymore, but this was a big thing in a while. Suddenly the screen is being populated with pornography. And in this specific case, it was child pornography. Library worker saw it, called the cops. The man was arrested. The forensic investigation revealed that the man himself had not been looking at child pornography on the library's computer, which would have been impossible due to the software, the filtering software most libraries have, all libraries have. He was there just doing research, and that the child pornography that popped up was actually the result of an exploit, a virus that had been hanging out on the computer and was just activated that day. And so the man was cleared, but not before word got out. Staff at the library had talked to their family or talked to other community members and said, yeah, so-and-so was arrested today because there's child pornography on the screen while he's here at the library. The man's life was destroyed. He and his family actually had to move. He had to transfer schools. He was, I think, in his 40s, going back to college for a second degree, or for a degree, to finish his degree. And he and his family had to move. He had to change jobs. He had to change schools. He was innocent, just bad timing, sitting at the wrong computer at the wrong time. And so, these stories, you would want to be very careful about who you accuse. But the Attorney General's Office, Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, is putting this message out saying, these cases, especially this one just from June 2nd with this Salt Lake City School Board member, oftentimes what they find, and the wink here is they're not coming right out and saying it, but what they're implying is that there may have been people who had run across something suspicious with this person before. And obviously they wouldn't say that if they didn't have reason to. So somehow in their investigation, they've discovered that there may have been individuals who had had reason to worry or be suspect of this man's behavior in the past, but not wanting to ruin a person's life, maybe thinking to themselves, he's a school board member, there's no way he'd be doing this. They sat on it. And so the Attorney General's office just kind of putting out a general plea to reach out to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force with a couple of reminders. One, the faster this can be shut down, the faster you can stop a child from being groomed or exploited by a predator. That's the most important part. The second part is that they do have ways of going about this now so that if a person during the investigation is discovered to be innocent of the accusations, they can do all this in a way that doesn't result in someone's having their life destroyed because of a intentional false accusation or a misunderstanding in which forensic investigation clears the person. So they're asking if you see anything, if you are worried about something you ran across on your computer, and most importantly, the representative from the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force said, and this, I guess, is the hardest situation for people to step up and provide a tip in, if it's a family member. They're asking that you not try to go about this by just having conversations with the family member because the behavior can escalate quickly and become exploitative very quickly. It doesn't stop at just looking at images usually. So they're asking people to just make the call. Provide a tip if you're worried about something you saw on a computer, even if it's on a family member's computer, a coworker's, something you ran across on a computer that you have no idea whose it is, like a public computer somewhere. Call the task force, reach out via the 800 number to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and let them take it from there. So, great tip. Again, this message from the ICAC, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here in Utah, a division of the Attorney General's office, comes after the arrest of a Salt Lake City school board member earlier this week for possession of and distribution of child pornography, and belief, at least, though details haven't been revealed, that there may have been several people who came forward after the arrest and said, yeah, we kind of knew. We didn't know what to do. Check it out. I've linked to the Attorney General's statement on our Facebook page, and we'll be back after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:36, and the news is brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. Police in Utah are investigating a possible hate crime after a rainbow pride flag was burned and a note targeting the LGBTQ community was left behind. KSL reports a homeowner in Kaysville told police early Thursday morning that a flag was cut from a flagpole and set on fire in the street. Officer Lexi Benson says police are investigating the incident as a hate crime after a note was left behind containing Bible scriptures purporting to condemn the LGBTQ community and other derogatory terms. A U.S. judge has rejected the Biden administration's attempt to delay a lawsuit from several states and environmental groups that would end sales for coal mining leases on federal lands. The coal program was temporarily shut down after President Obama because of concerns about climate change. It was revived by the Trump administration, but there have been few sales in the years since because the use of coal has plummeted as utilities turn to cleaner burning fuels. Environmentalists went to shut down the program permanently. A federal judge issued an order late Thursday denying the Biden administration's attempt to delay the case for another 3 months. KVNU News Time is 4:38.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley, and as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
KVNU weather for tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low in the upper 50s, and then partly cloudy in the morning, and then clearing, high around 90. Saturday night, mostly clear, cooler, low around 50, and then sunny mid-80s on Sunday. It's been to 94. In fact, it's 94 right now at KVNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, offering a relaxing way of life near beautiful canyons that converge on the ranch for afternoon day hikes and horseback rides in the Cache National Forest. They are continuing to offer 2.5-acre lots, so schedule your appointment today at maplecreekranch.net. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is financial advisor Clayton McMurdy from Edward Jones, bringing you the closing financial market report for Friday, June 4th. The highly anticipated May jobs report released this morning provided a few mixed takeaways. Job growth accelerated, with the U.S. economy adding 559,000 jobs last month. However, this was a bit shy of expectations for a 675,000 gain. Also, the unemployment rate dropped to 5.8% from 6.1%, the lowest since the pandemic started, though the improvement was partly driven by a drop in labor force participation. Together, the decline in the participation rate and the acceleration in wages suggest that employers are struggling to find workers. Likely child care obligations, enhanced jobless benefits, skills mismatches, and supply shortages are all playing a role in how fast companies can fill a record number of openings as the economy accelerates. Nevertheless, the progress in vaccinations and easing of restrictions continues to benefit the services industry. Leisure and hospitality accounted for half of the May job gains, with restaurants adding 186,000 jobs. U.S. equities closed high today. The Dow was up 180 points at 34,757. The Nasdaq was up 200 points at 13,814. And the S&P was up 37 points at 4,230. And in bond markets, the 10-year Treasury is trading at 1.55%. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up 65 cents at $69.46, and the spot price of gold was up $20.80 to $1,894.10. In stocks of local interest, Apple was up $2.35 at $125.89. Autoliv up 24 cents at $108.38. Campbell Soup was up 26 cents at $49.68. GE was down 13 cents at $13.96. Home Depot down 42 cents at $311.01. Lowe's down 39 cents at $189.91. Nucor was up $1.71 at $108.78. Procter & Gamble up 10 cents at $135.95. R.R. Donnelley was down 22 cents at $6.38. Thermo Fisher was up $3.43 at $448.76. Wells Fargo was up 50 cents at $46.96. Walmart up 25 cents at $141.85. And Zions was down 16 cents at $58.13. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you by Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main Street in Logan.
Okay, now, listen up. If you like a little variety in your life and you like to work outside, I have the job for you. Logan Extermination is looking for hardworking, motivated technicians to help them keep up with their booming business. This is a great paying job with full or part-time employment available, and your day is never the same. Pay is $13 to $15 per hour with paid training and certification. Call today, 752-8450. That's 435-752-8450. Logan Extermination is excited to add you to their family.
Announcing the nationwide release of Witnesses film. Come see, hear, and feel the experiences of Oliver Cowdery, David Whitmer, and Martin Harris. What led them to Joseph Smith and what happened to them after parting ways. Come Follow Me comes alive for your family. See Witnesses, now in theaters. Tickets at witnessesfilm.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. What an odd, unexpected emergency alert there. Not a cloud in the sky here. And
obviously, it's not for Cache County.
No, but Box Elder County. Yeah. Well, we'll see how this develops. A very unexpected thunderstorm.
Well, I was looking at that bank of clouds as I was coming in this afternoon, kind of to the
it's pretty dark.
west-northwest, and I was looking at it. I says that's either a giant wildfire or those are thunderheads.
Sure.
Thunderstorms developing. So,
yeah,
a little ways away from us.
Not expecting that, but pretty serious though. Reports in the southern Idaho area of dime-sized hail and damage to roofs, windows, and siding. So, brace yourselves, Box Elder County, and don't be standing by glass just in case. All right. Other than that, it's going to be a pretty clear, hot weekend, I think. And I'm excited.
It's been 94 already.
I won't reveal details because, I don't want my huge fan base following me asking for autographs again. No, I'm just a very private person, ironically. But I'm excited. I'm getting out this weekend. I've been talking about this, how much I miss this for more than a year now. But I'm getting out this weekend to my first festival-like event. It's an outdoor event. It's they've rearranged things in a way that it's safe because the pandemic's still here. It's winding down. You can definitely see that. But just yesterday, a report of a Box Elder man who lost his life to this virus.
In fact, there have been two in the last 2 days. One a fairly young man, or much younger, between 45 and 64. They don't go into exactly what age, but.
Sure.
And now today somebody much older, also from Box Elder County, apparently succumbed to it. Some of them, I think, are from maybe a few weeks ago because they do a lot of research to see if it really was COVID-19.
Yeah, it's and I know things get complicated when there are other factors they have to determine for the sake of their own understanding of how this pandemic played out. When we look back on it, they have to determine if the cause of death was triggered by COVID-19 specifically, and so it can take a while. Sometimes when the deaths are reported, they didn't happen that week, but it's still out there. In fact, there's the numbers are low when we say outbreak. When we said outbreak back in January, it meant thousands of cases in a certain area. When we say outbreak now, we're usually talking tens of cases at most. But there was a bit of an outbreak in Hiram, leading to the reopening of some drive-through testing sites this week. So it's still out there. It's still a concern. The CDC has issued some guidance on those who are fully vaccinated, which I'm happy to say I am, and everyone in my family is. So it does make you feel a little bit more open to getting out and doing some things. And I've dipped my toes in the water a few things. I went to my first movie a couple of weeks ago. That was nice. Hadn't been to a movie since February of 2020. Hadn't been in a theater at least.
Did they give you extra popcorn because
you were
one of the few people there?
I can never touch this stuff because I actually am not a fan of popcorn, especially movie theater popcorn. Just not my thing. But if I put my hand in and take a handful and eat some, I'll eat the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'll just sit there and eat the whole thing. And then you're sick, and so no popcorn for me. I don't tell anyone. I'm a smuggle the snacks in kind of person.
I used to do that as a kid, quite a bit.
It's mainly because I like to smuggle in things like baby carrots and slices of apples, and they just don't sell those at theater. If they sold them, I'd buy them there for convenience.
Sure.
But
$5 an apple slice or something. So.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, it's just a story I wanted to tell on the show today because it's nice to be able to get back. Now, this is a smaller event. It's not a huge thing. I would love to go to a huge thing. I would love to go to a multi-day outdoor. I'm so excited for county fairs. I've already I've already made plans when they officially announce the date, assuming it happens, to visit the East Idaho State Fair. If you've never been to this, man, it is. It's usually a short drive. It's not far, and it's a state fair. But I've been to both the state fair that happens near the Boise area each year, and then Idaho being so rural and so much space that's not often fun to drive through on a regular basis between the east and the west sides of the state. They have a second state fair. It's called the East Idaho State Fair. And I think it was Blackfoot where this happens. Anyways, it's amazing. It's huge. It's a week-long event. It's they have horse racing.
And you say
they have.
You say the Eastern Idaho State Fair is much better than the Western one out near Boise.
Yeah, no offense to the Western Idaho State Fair, which I think they just call themselves the State Fair. How arrogant, right? So
it's like, well, we are the capital.
Yeah, we're the State Fair. That one's okay. There's something fun about the East Idaho State Fair and the crowds and they really go all out on the carnival type feel to it, the games and the rides and all that. And then, like I say, there's horse racing you can watch. There's it seems like miles of booths and displays, and it happens in a huge area. Parking can be a little crazy. If you go, I recommend just suck it up, park far away, and walk. It will save you hours once you get in there. One year we got in there and actually got stuck in there.
Because you were leaving when everybody else was leaving, probably.
No, we parked in a spot that then became a closed street, and they parked a bunch of trailers there to unload some stuff, so we were just stuck for a couple of hours. So don't even, just park outside and walk, even if it's a mile in, much easier. But yeah, really fun to go to, and I'm excited for that type of thing. So this is a smaller thing that I'm going to this weekend, but it's kind of exciting to be able to do this again and to do so safely. My biggest concern over the last year hasn't really been, obviously there was some concern for myself. Nobody wants to, be one of those people that everyone had such a different experience with this virus. I have relatives who were unlucky enough to get it, and I have an older relative with some other health issues. There was a lot of concern if she got this virus. When she got it, she was very tired for several days. Didn't feel great, obviously, but that's it. Her daughter, though, very healthy, young, no other health issues, avid exerciser, very active person, great shape. She ended up a COVID long hauler. She dealt with complications from that virus that cost her voice for months.
Is it back now, or is it?
No, she actually got vaccinated, and that seemed to help. Which they're finding a lot more evidence that might be the case for COVID long haulers, so some of them at least. But yeah, she dealt with months of doctors and even hospital trips, emergency room trips, when she couldn't catch her breath, months after having the virus. So yeah, everyone, it's very random and unpredictable how people are affected by this. So
everybody's own personal physiology is different.
Yeah, just like with the flu. When I get the flu, I would rather have a flu than a cold, because when I get the flu, it's a very mild, barely inconvenient experience, which Dr. Red, former state representative Red, once told me that I was a doctor's worst nightmare in flu season. They call us carriers because we don't feel bad. We don't feel that bad, so we think, maybe it's just allergies, something, I don't know, especially if it's still early fall. And so you just go about your day because you don't feel that bad, and you're just giving the flu to everybody. So I try to be careful.
That's why
about
everybody
that.
asks you every day, how you feeling, Jason?
Yeah,
you feel on top of your game?
If I clear my throat once, everybody go, oh.
Everybody scatters.
But no, so there obviously I had selfish concerns there. Everyone does about getting sick, and then being self-employed. I also thought about those bills. A trip to the hospital with COVID-19 was at minimum a $40,000 bill. So, there was that too. I don't want to have to spend that money.
It's not great even if you have insurance.
That's why I always had to laugh at people. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, even if you end up okay, if you have to even go visit a hospital for a couple of days, you just put a mask on. They're 99 cents. So I always thought that was just
hospital bill might be $9,900.
Just,
yeah.
Yeah, the I'm not going to eat my peas boneheadedness out there amazes me sometimes. Yeah, so there was concern for me, but most of my concern over the last year, this was my biggest fear, is that I would find that I'd find out after the fact that I had COVID-19. It didn't affect me very much. I didn't even feel that ill, but I gave it to 19 people while just going about my work week before coming here to the radio show each day. And some of those people end up in the hospital or even dying. That was my big concern throughout this last year. So I was very careful for those reasons, especially loved ones, but just the general public. I didn't want to contribute in that way to society. And so being vaccinated now, being able to see numbers so low, being able to go out and do these things again that I've held off on for more than a year, just great. Honestly feels good. And like I say, it's just a small event. I'm looking forward to the big ones like the East Idaho State Fair and things like that later this summer. And they'll happen. I think, we're seeing the numbers nationwide even, other than some hot spots here and there. Like I say, even a couple of hot spots here in Utah over the last week or two, one in Hiram, one in South Salt Lake, where it went through multiple households and stuff like that. But the numbers are low. They're trending lower each day. And vaccination rate trending up, although Utah is now officially lagging behind other western states in vaccinations. So expect a second push on vaccinations to come in the next week or two. But yeah, just a lot of positive signs out there, a lot of good things. So I'm very excited getting away finally to an outdoor event with a lot of people, hopefully. And it's just going to be fun. So glad that you can see things coming to an end when it comes to this pandemic. And it's amazing, actually, how quickly we all adapted last spring. We didn't really have a choice, but most of us, at least, some people I know struggled, but most people, I think, just quickly adapted, did what needed to be done for more than a year. And all of us that did that, I think we deserve a pat on the back. Go celebrate a little bit. Smartly, but go celebrate. You can see the end here right around the corner. 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
We all know how it can be to go to the wrong place for car repair.
Lights on again. Can you believe this? Unbelievable.
So don't risk it. Get no credit financing to meet your needs. Only at AA MCO.
We all know how it can be to go to the wrong place for transmission repair.
Guy and his cheap transmission fluid.
Get no credit financing to meet your needs. Only at AA MCO.
Find your Logan Amco dealer at 75 East, 20th North. Call 752-1940.
The Preston Golf and Country Club is now taking registration for their summer junior golf program. These programs include an 8-week long group lesson for beginner and advanced players, plus also a summer youth league that includes 9 holes of golf each week, a treat, prizes, a PGA Junior League team, and small group lessons as well. Cost for the 8-week program is $70 per child. Lessons start June 9th and are 8 consecutive Wednesdays. Register by calling the Pro Shop at 208-852-2408. All groups will be taught by John Van Vliet, certified PGA professional.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you prepare for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Intermountain Healthcare is a name trusted throughout the state, and Cache Valley is no exception. Ear, nose, and throat doctors Kaiser and Wilson are accepting patients with ear, nose, and throat problems, sudden hearing loss, tonsil infections, sinusitis, and head, neck, and thyroid tumors. For more information about Dr. Kaiser or Wilson, search Budge Clinic ENT on the web or call 435-716-1420. Doctors Kaiser and Wilson provide local care with Intermountain expertise.
Join us each week for music and the spoken word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world, celebrating over 90 years on the air. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, patriotic, classical, and contemporary music, and a timely, inspiring message. Music and the spoken word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Sunday mornings at 8 and again in the afternoons at 6 on News Talk KVNU.
That is hour one of today's show, but stay tuned. More coming up in just a bit. Hour two with the For the People movie show and Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. We'll be talking about The Conjuring 3, the first official sequel in that franchise.